When I first started jewellery making, like so many people, I struggled making loops. So I purchased a one-step looper and I fell in love with it. The thing I love most about it is great for making lots of loops in a really short time. So for those components where you have one loop on one end, some beads, and then another loop on the other end, it works really well to make those really, really quickly. The other thing I love about the one-step looper is that it makes a consistently sized loop every time. So for example, if you have a 2.25mm one-step looper, then it makes an internal size of the loop, a loop with an internal size of 2.25mm. I also have the 1.5mm and the 3mm. The size of loop that you want to make is determined by the size of beads. So for example, if you were only able to buy one-step looper, then I would buy the 2.25mm one because it is a fairly average size loop. I use the smaller one when I'm using tiny beads, and I use the bigger one when I'm using really, really big beads. But most of the time I use my 2.25mm. And I've been using it now for about 3 years and it hasn't blunted at all. The blade is still nice and sharp. You can use the one-step looper with either half hard or dead soft wire ranging from 18 gauge to 26 gauge. You cannot use it with hard wire, for example stainless steel and memory wire, because that would blunt the blade. You can use it with either silver, gold filled or plated wire. Let me show you how it works. This is my 2.25mm looper and I'm going to show you two ways that it works. Well, I'm going to show you it twice. I've got here a piece of 20 gauge wire, and all you do is pop the wire through the hole at the back of the looper and you squeeze. Now when you squeeze and it comes around, what I like to do is just bend it back a little bit so that the loop is centered on my wire. And there is my loop. Now I'm going to put on some beads here. I've got some little 3mm glass bicones, and I've got a 6mm stardust bead, and I'm popping on another 3mm glass bicone. Now the reason I'm doing this is because people always ask me, how do you do the second loop? So I'm going to show you that. So just feeding the end of my wire all the way through and bringing it right down to where the beads are. Now these little 3mm bicones are very fragile, so you need to leave enough room between the jaw here and the bead for this jaw to come around, otherwise it will shave just a fraction off your bead and you don't want that. So I'm just leaving about 1 millimeter, and I'm just bringing that round, and I am making my loop. Now you see there that my loop didn't quite close, but that's okay. All I need to do is grab my pliers and close it properly. And sometimes that happens, so to close it I'm just lifting it up and pushing it back down. And generally you want to open a loop anyway. So there's my component with its loops on either end. Now I'll show you, I've got here a piece of 18 gauge wire, so I want to show you how that works as well. So same thing, put it through the hole in the back there and pull it around, squeezing your pliers and pulling back a little bit. You can see there's my loop. And now I'm just going to feed on some bigger beads. And now I'm going to come back in with this on this side and make another loop. So this time I don't need to worry too much because these beads are a little bit more hardy than those tiny wee bicones. So once again, it didn't quite close, so I just come in with my pliers and I close that loop. And there it is. If you're wanting to make loops in a hurry, then this is the tool for you.